Our goal as parents is to instill in our children the skills and the character that will enable them to survive and thrive at home, in school, and also eventually as independent adults in this fast changing, diverse, democratic society. This is our responsibility, and we have the authority to get the job done. After all, even in society of equals, authority still exists. The president of a corporation, the police officer on the street, the principal of the school, these are examples of people who have the authority to make final decisions and the responsibility to enforce those decisions. They are the leaders. But there's not much use being a leader if no one's willing to follow you. So, an important principle of leadership is that leaders get their ultimate authority from those that they lead. And the same is true for parents. We're the authorities in our families, but to be effective, we have to have the cooperation of our children. How you choose to guide your child in the development of character skills and behavior is a matter of personal preference. No two parents are going to be exactly alike, so no two parents will parent exactly alike. But if we eliminate parents at the extremes, those who are like abusive or neglectful, the rest is going to tend toward one of the three major styles of parenting: the autocratic style, which is the dictator, the permissive style, which is the doormat, or an authoritative style, which is the active parent. And the reason I said tend towards is that most parents actually exhibit characteristics of all three parenting styles at different times, depending on the child's behavior, their mood, and other factors. This inconsistency encourages the child to test the parents to see how far they can push the limits. So, by understanding the three styles and knowing which one you tend towards, you're going to have a better chance of applying the active style of parenting with greater consistency. So, let's jump into the autocratic style, which is the dictator. The autocratic parent tries to be all powerful in directing the lives of his children. This parent is usually a dominating authoritarian figure, a dictator. And that parent uses reward and punishment as tools to enforce the orders. The kids are kept in line by the threat of punishment if they misbehave and the promise of reward if they do what they're told. And kids are told what to do, how to do it, and when and where to do it. There's little or no room for them to question, challenge, or disagree. Sometimes autocratic parents take a more subtle approach, using a combination of guilt, disapproval, and other emotional tactics to keep their child in line. The common factor in all autocratic parents is a desire to control. Children brought up in autocratic families seldom thrive. Sometimes their spirits are broken and they give up. More often, they rebel. And this rebellion can be characterized by sneaking or just by open defiance. Rebellion usually happens during the teen years because by then the child has developed enough power, both physical and intellectual, to fight back. Autocratic parenting has been the typical parenting style for so many generations that teenage rebellion has come to be accepted by many experts as normal. That's a mistake. Kids raised with an active style of parenting don't have to rebel to become independent. The autocratic style of parenting can be described as limits without freedom, which we can show as a closed circle. This parenting method worked reasonably well when inequality was the norm in our society and the culture dictated that children should be seen but not heard. But it works poorly in today's world of an increased equality. The autocratic parent deserves some credit for recognizing the need for limits and having the emotional strength to stand firm, but this parent goes much too far. You're tending towards the autocratic style of parenting if you say things like, because I'm the parent and I said so, or as long as you live under my roof, you'll obey my rules. When you're the parent, you can decide what to do. Or when you do things like tell your child what to wear, find yourself angry and yelling frequently, ground or punish your child in other ways. So, permissive parents are often those who react strongly against the harsh and uncompromising autocratic method. Instead, they allow their children too much freedom. In these households, there's very little respect for order and routine, and few limits are placed on anyone's freedom. Children often have no curfew and few household responsibilities. They're pampered and, as a result, become accustomed to getting their own way. Permissive parents tend to behave like doormats, allowing the children to walk all over them. And kids who grow up with this style of parenting may act like they enjoy the excessive freedom they are allowed, but without a clear authority figure to protect and guide them, underneath they feel insecure. Privately, they may wish to have limits imposed on them. As one older child wrote in her blog, I need rules. I need to hear someone say no. I need a mom, not another friend. So children with permissive parents sometimes lack a sense of belonging with the family, and because they've not learned to cooperate, they're often difficult to live with. They often rebel against authority or refuse to comply with the rules. And these unfortunate effects often follow them into adulthood, where they're so accustomed to a lifestyle with no limits, they have trouble keeping a job and they struggle with the healthy give and take of close relationships. The permissive method can be described as a freedom without limits, and we show this as a zigzag line, meaning freedom run rampant. And although it is commendable that permissive parents understand the need for freedom and they're willing to share power with their children, they go too far also. And so you're tending toward the permissive parenting style when you say things like, I don't think that's a good idea, but, well, okay, if you really want to. Or, do you really need this? Oh, all right, here's the money. Or, I sure wish you'd pick up after yourself. Or, when you're doing things like ignoring your child's schoolwork until you see his low grades, act as your child's alarm clock and wake up service, give in to unreasonable demands because you're afraid that they're going to become angry or sad. The parenting style is, in some respects, this middle ground between the autocratic method and the permissive method. And it's also a lot more than that. In an active household, freedom is important, but so are the rights of others and the responsibilities of all. The parent's the leader who encourages order and routine and understands the need for reasonable limits to behavior. The active parenting method acknowledges a system of modern social equality in which every member of the family is important and worthy of respect. This is consistent with life in a democratic society. Democracy does not mean that you're always going to get your way, it means that you're always going to have your say. Active parenting acknowledges our democratic heritage and the role of social equality among all human beings in two very important ways. Parents are going to treat children with dignity and respect even during discipline, and children are entitled to respectfully express their thoughts and feelings to their parents. In this way, they're given the right to influence the decisions that affect their own lives. So the active method could be called freedom within limits, and it's shown as a zigzag line within the limits of a circle. And it would also be appropriate to call the active style freedom within expanding limits, because as the child grows up and assumes more responsibility, the active parent gradually relaxes limits until eventually, as an 18 to 21-year-old, their child has the same amount of independence as any adult. That's what is meant by expanding limits. So you're tending towards the active style of parenting when you say things like, I know you're disappointed, but you can't go. Here's why. Or, sure, we can talk about it. What's your idea? Or, I know you can handle it, but if you need some help, just let me know. And we're tending towards the active style of parenting when we do things like involving our children in deciding who's going to do the family chores, giving the child responsibility over their homework and monitoring only as needed, showing an active interest in the child's education by regularly discussing his subjects with them and attending school functions, talking with them about their expectations for their behavior and also your expectations for their behavior and the consequences for breaking those agreements, and talking with them about topics like drug use, sexuality, and violence in a calm and non-judgmental manner. And also letting the child know what you like about them and encouraging them often. So when we compare the styles of parenting, we could see some of the strengths and weaknesses here. The weaknesses of the dictator is that it's reactive, it's out of sync with the life in a democracy, it invites rebellion or crushes the spirit, and it's low in support. But it does set limits and firmness through discipline, and the parent is confident. But in the doormat style, the parent's inactive or reactive, out of sync with the life in a democracy. They're failing to teach or they're spoiling the child, and it's low in discipline. But they do provide choices and nurturing or support, and the parent is caring. But there are no weaknesses for the active parent, and the strengths are that they're proactive, they combine discipline and support, they're firm and nurturing, they're confident and caring, and they invite cooperation.